Good morning everyone, today we're going to be taking an objective look at all of the different content that we are getting this month. But before we jump into all of that, if you're new to the channel, I upload NGS content daily, so if you do play this game, I would really appreciate a subscribe as it really helps out the channel. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin the video. So as we can see over here on the official website, they did break down everything into bite-sized pieces so that we can go over each new piece of content. So the first piece of new content is the creative spaces. So if you were looking forward to it, congratulations, this is the main focus of this entire month. However, if creative spaces isn't your cup of tea and you only care about combat as well as system changes, please just skip over to the timestamps. All the timestamps are below. You can simply just jump over to the combat chapter and I'll be covering over a lot of balance changes over there as well as new skills, so that might be more interesting for you. However, with that being said, we need to talk about the creative spaces because it looks amazing. So everyone is going to get this island regardless whether you are free to play or a premium member. Everyone gets this island. Now on top of this, you also get a bigger island for your alliance, and when you go to your alliance creative spaces, you need the leader to designate you as an editor or a builder or whatever they're going to call it in order to start editing things on the island. There is a limit of 8 people who can build stuff at any given time. So you can have 8 people building things at the same time in your alliance quarters. However, the alliance quarters can fit up to 100 people. Yes, you can have 100 people in your alliance quarters at any given time. However, only 8 people will be able to edit. The other 82 players will just be able to run around and interact with some things if you do place interactable objects. So as we can see over here, people build houses. There's going to be interactable objects such as doors, which you can make open if you do a specific action. You might need to do an emote, you might need to step on a pressure panel, you might need to push a button. There are many ways to make the door open or make different objects interact with each other, which is really nice. And what's even better is after you complete a building, let's say that you want to replicate it and you just want to copy paste it somewhere else, you can save your entire building or save whatever mechanical masterpiece you made and you can share it with your friends. Now they did state that when you copy a blueprint, you are not able to sell it on the marketplace. So this means that there is no market for, oh, I built something really cool and I want to sell it to other players in order to make Maseta. That is not going to be a thing, unfortunately. Well, maybe fortunately, I don't really know yet. But either way, if you want to share your blueprints or your mazes or your labyrinth or your race course, for example, you can do so, and that way everyone can have fun and enjoy your masterpiece. Now, before you can start building in your creative spaces, you're going to need to collect a currency called Genesis points. First of all, we will have a tree in your personal quarters where you can collect Genesis points every single day. It's sort of time gated, you just pick it up whenever it's available. However, this is not your only source of Genesis points. You can also earn Genesis points by doing your weeklies, by doing your dailies, by doing limited time quests. And you will want to farm up your Genesis points because you can use the Genesis points in order to buy different furnitures, but more importantly, you could also buy a lot of different type of gear and capsules in order to make your character stronger if you need it. Now for my OG base game players, all of the furniture that we got in the base game will not be applicable to NGS. So we're going to need to repurchase the PSO2 furnishings. However, we can purchase them with SG. You're going to need to check the SG furnishing shop in order to repurchase some of this furniture, which has been remodeled into the NGS variant. So this is a little bit unfortunate for base game players because, you know, we have a lot of different furnishings. Unfortunately, we will not be able to use them, okay? The next new piece of content is, of course, the main storyline. We are getting Chapter 6, Part 1. So keep in mind, they did not call it Episode 2. It is Chapter 6. So it's still a continuation of the current storyline. Now, they did specify that it is Part 1 over here, which means that the story quest is probably going to be relatively short, but this is the decision that the development team came up with. Now there's also going to be new adjustments to the main story. The main thing is going to be EXP. You're going to be getting a lot more EXP from the main task. So it's going to be very easy to level and you can literally just focus on the main storyline. In the old version where you were leveling up a character, you would get stuck at certain points where it forced you to go to a combat zone, grind out 3 or 4 levels, and then you can continue on with the story. However, with the new changes, you can just beeline the main storyline. You don't need to do a bunch of different side tasks in order to continue. And not only that, they've also removed the minimum battle power requirement in order to access the main storylines, and they've also removed the damage attenuation for story quests. For those who don't know what damage attenuation is, it's when the mob is too high level, you will deal 1 damage to the mob. I think it's 5 levels above your current level, you will deal significantly less damage to that mob. So they're removing this, so regardless of what level the mob is, you're still going to be able to deal regular damage. So technically you can just, you know, blast through the story, ignore everything, and just not even bother upgrading your gear, and you will be able to clear the storyline. Sure, it's going to be a lot harder if you're going to be using starter weapons, but remember, in the main storyline, they do give you a lot of gear now, so you can actually just use the free gear that you gain from the story and just kind of have a smooth progression instead of getting stuck at specific areas. A good example is Retem. Progressing through the story at Retem was kind of a pain in the butt because the gear they gave you from the story wasn't strong enough, so you had to like actually go farm for different minerals and meseta and ore in order to enhance your weapons in order to continue with the story, and it would eat up a ton of your resources, especially your meseta. For starting players, you know, meseta was very hard to come by, and asking for like, you know, 100,000 meseta to just enhance your weapon or limit break your weapon was asking for a lot. So I'm glad that they've changed these. So basically the storyline is going to be a lot more smoother. That's the TLDR. The next thing we need to talk about is of course the new skills for all classes over here. But not only that, we are also getting the balance adjustments. For those who forgot what the balance adjustments were, it's down here. I'll leave this link in the description below, but there are a ton of changes. Basically increased potency for a lot of people, all right? But the main one that I want to focus over here is the bow adjustments, because as you can see, all 4 different photon arts for the bow have increased potency as well adjusted potency allocation. However, I want to bring everyone's attention to Argus PSO2's post over here where they do a breakdown of the bow changes, and personally I think it is freaking amazing because as we can see here, attacking an enemy with photon arts charges up the special gauge. Once full, your next bow normal attack is empowered, so it's going to feel very much like the katana. You know, with the katana, you do photon art 1, 2, 3, normal attack. This is going to make the bow feel very similar to that, and on top of that, using the attack will increase the power of your next bow photon arts afterwards, excluding dimensional ray. So you're going to do 1, 2, 3 normal attack, and then your next photon art is going to deal even more damage. So that is freaking awesome. So as we can see here, remember about that bow balance patch? You can start to see where this is going, right? Bow is going to get a crap ton of damage increase adjustment in the upcoming NGS version 2 patch. You're looking at the new light of bow gameplay. There are several impacts to bow gameplay in my honest opinion. 1. Proper usage of bow normal attack is a must now. While taking risks to fire it for potential damage boost, it'll be possible that you'll get hit by doing so. We'll see if guard frame exists for the bow attack impact. The reason for this sentence over here is because with the katana, after your 3 PAs into your empowered attack, the beginning portion of your empowered attack is an iframe. So they may do the same with the bow. Point number 2. The new skill will cover the lack of counters in various engagement, especially during down/break states of the bosses. Free attack that doesn't cost PP as well? Dang, that's freaking amazing. Point number 3, we'll also need to see how much gauge generation each PA will yield. So the main reason for this is because with the katana, it's actually very simple. It's 1, 2, 3 normal attack. With the bow, it might be a little bit different. Maybe it's going to be 1, 2 normal attack or 1, 2, 3 normal attack. Who knows? We're going to need to wait and see. However, on top of that, don't forget, after your normal attack, it empowers your next photon art. So that's even more stuff to think about, which flows onto the 4th point over here. Picking what PA to use to maximize the PA buff will also be important. Imagine applying it to a level 2 charge flex arrow to nuke the enemy, or it might even apply to charge ceaseless draw, which is a multi-hit attack. If it applies to all the hits, that's actually absolutely bonkers. And the last point Argus has over here is we don't know how well this can mesh into regular gameplay, but he's extremely curious on seeing how it fares against all the bosses in Alpha. So as a Braver main myself, I am definitely super excited for the bow. I will be multi-weaponing my katana with my bow or my bow with my katana, depending on what the new weapon potential is for the Tisha weapons. Because don't forget, our new 9-star rarity weapon has 3 different weapon potentials, 1 for melee, 1 for range, and 1 for technique. So depending on which weapon potential fits my personal playstyle the best, I'm going to be using that as the main weapon. So let's say, for example, the bow gives us critical rate, because that is what the relic bow actually gave. As you can see over here, level 6, potency plus 26%, critical hit rate plus 15%, critical critical hit rate plus 15% when HP is 50% or higher. So this alone over here gave you 30% critical hit rate. While if we looked at the relic katana over here, you can see potency plus 35% causes area damage when you hit an enemy, 10-second cooldown. So if we assume that the 9-star rarity weapon's potential is going to be similar to how the relic series worked, then I might use the bow as the main weapon and multi-weapon with the katana, because that way I can gain this 30% extra critical rate. Sure, my potency is not going to be as high, it's only going to be 26% versus if I use the katana with the 35%, but I do gain that 30% critical hit rate, and you guys know how powerful crit rate is. So I'm definitely going to be comparing the two weapon potentials between the katana as well as the bow and see which one fits my personal playstyle the best. So I personally am very excited for the new skills as well as the balance adjustments, because it's going to allow me to improve my gameplay a lot more. The next piece of new content is of course the portable holograms. Remember, there is a limit of how much you can put in any field, and the moment that you teleport to another field, let's say you teleport to town or you go to another combat zone, everything that you placed in the original zone will disappear. It'll automatically despawn, okay? So just understand that first, there is a limit of items that you can place, and on top of that, when you leave that zone, everything that you place will automatically disappear. Now they do go a little bit more in depth over here, saying that there are 3 types of available things that you can place. You can place objects, you can place effects, as well as paint. So spray paint's fairly simple, you just spray it on the wall or on the floor. Objects, you know, you can put crates, you can put little barrels, you can put a cat. That's pretty cool. And effects are things that are plastered onto your screen and you can see it all around. You can see this VS thing that's stuck over here, so it looks like a fighting game. It's pretty cool. The next thing being introduced is of course Cel Shading. A lot of people are super excited for this. I personally am looking forward to this because I just like the style of Cel Shading a lot. However, I know some people might not care about this too much, but I will be rocking Cel Shading for sure. Then on top of that, we are getting a ton of new features and improvement. The majority of this is quality of life stuff. So the first one is skill points. You don't need any skill tree reset coupons anymore. You can reset your skill tree at any time that you want for free. So you can just reallocate your skills. You don't need to reset your entire tree anymore. You can just say, oh, I don't want this taunt anymore. You just click the minus key, take a skill point away from taunt, and you can place it on something else. Super simple, super intuitive. I love this change. Next one is of course photo rooms. You can now make photo rooms in town. So if you want to do a tutorial or you need to make a video or you're trying to get like a perfect screenshot with NPCs, you're going to be able to do that very, very easily without random people running around. Photo mode itself has been improved a ton. You can actually increase your field of view. You can actually increase a lot of different things and a lot of customizability in order to get that perfect screenshot. Next up is of course the additional sliders on garment spread around the waist area. This is huge as well. A lot of people have been complaining that, you know, if your character wears a dress, it just puffs out and makes your character look really fat. Well, now you can adjust that so that the clothing doesn't puff out and doesn't defy gravity anymore. So this is a very, very welcome change. The next quality of life change that they've added is the search function. The item search function in the personal shop has evolved to allow for misspelled searches. So, you know, again, the example that I used was the Tenzan Yagama. If you just type in Tenzan, it's going to autofill and find all of the different items with Tenzan in it. So it's going to be a lot easier to find specific items that you want if you don't spell the name perfectly. Because in the current system, you have to spell the name perfectly with capitalization, and if you spell it wrong, the item just doesn't show up. So this is a huge, huge change. Next up is NGS file sizes are going to be a lot smaller because it's not going to force you to download the base PSO2 game anymore. You can just download NGS, which is going to save you a ton of hard drive space. So instead of 100 and something gigabytes, it's going to be slimmed down to like 30 or 40 gigabytes, which is going to be much nicer. Next up, we're getting new enemy types, which is the Starless. So these are the new enemies. They look pretty badass, and I just can't wait to fight them because, of course, there is the new gear. So as I said earlier, the new weapons do have 3 different weapon potentials, so we're gonna have to see all the different weapon potentials, and the weapons themselves just look really badass, so I can't wait. But on top of that, we also have new Giga Strugment exchange shop. So when we kill Gigantics as well as recon Gigantics, we will get this new resource called Giga Strugments. You can use these Giga Strugments in order to exchange for a bunch of goodies. As you can see over here, there are photon chunks, there are Gigas capsules, and there's a bunch of weapon camos. Something I want to point out is the Psycho Wand is here. You can get the Psycho Wand weapon camo. For those who don't know what the Psycho Wand is it is a very, very, very rare rare weapon, but you can get the weapon camo from just farming this. You do need to farm 500 of these Giga Strugments, which is an ungodly amount, but nevertheless, that weapon camo is absolutely legendary. So there's a lot of really highly sought out weapon camos over here, which you can work towards, but just understand 500 Giga Strugments is going to take you some time. I'm fully expecting the Gigas to drop 1 to 3 Strugments every kill. So yeah, we're going to need to kill a lot of Gigas. Next up is, of course, our level cap is being increased to level 75 and we get high rank sectors. So this is really awesome. Now keep in mind that the high rank sectors only apply to aliens for the first week, and then on the second week we'll get high rank sectors for Retem, and on the third week it's going to be Kavaris, and on the fourth week it's going to be on Stia. All right, it doesn't rotate, it's just we're getting a slow rollout for the high rank sectors on all of the different zones. Now with the release of the new high rank sectors, we are going to be getting level 70 enemies in all of the combat sectors in the Alia region, which will spawn these Starless enemies. Now keep in mind, in specific areas there are going to be new mechanics. So for example, in Rezel Forest there is this little flower over here, which when you hit it, it explodes and deals AoE damage against all the enemies. So that is pretty cool. However, I don't know if there's going to be new mechanics in Mount Magnus as well as in Vanford Laboratories, for example. We only know that they are adding the new Skylifters in all the zones, which will allow you to fly and traverse the map much quicker, which is very nice. Now on top of that, they've also added a new feature called featured item drops. So when you open your map and you look at the different combat zones, it'll tell you all of the featured items that drop there. This is very important because with the new 9-star rarity weapons, specific weapons will only drop in certain areas. So for example, melee weapons might only drop in Mount Magnus, range weapons might only drop in Vanford Laboratories, and technique weapons might only drop in Rezel Forest. So we do need to take a look at all of these featured item drops in order to see where you need to farm in order to get the specific weapon that you want. Next up are of course the Gigantics. They say specifically here that the Gigantics in Alio have been raised to level 79. So this means that the Gigantics in the other zones might still be 74. I'm not entirely sure about this, but once we get the version 2 update, I'm definitely going to check that, because being able to bully Gigantics that are level 74 while we are level 75 is going to be really fun. I really enjoy bullying lower level Gigantics, and on top of that, we might be able to farm a bunch of those Giga Strugments by killing the level 74 Gigas, which is going to be easier than killing these 79 Gigas. So that is something that I'm going to be checking. But on top of that, don't forget, we do get the Recon Gigantics that we can also fight, but in the Alia region, they are going to be level 79 as well. But we could always check Nucent Plant. If Nucent Plant Recon Gigantics are level 74, it might be better to farm there and just get a ton of those Giga Strugments really quickly so that we can buy out our Psycho Wands and all of our really rare weapon camos. Next up, they're adding a new mineral over here where we can obtain Photon Chunks 2A and 2B. Now, I don't know how often these are going to spawn. They kind of look rare. To be honest, they kind of remind me of like Stella Graces or Captain type of color scheme. So I don't know if this is going to be an extremely rare thing or maybe it respawns every day in a specific location. We're just gonna have to wait and see. Next up, we also get additional ranks and enemy level changes for the urgent quest as well as the trigger quest. So they are removing 3 urgent quests from the Alio region, which is the Command Doll Suppression, Nex Vera, as well as Mining Rig Defense. All 3 of these urgent quests can only be accessed through triggers now. So yeah, that is a little bit weird that we only getting Darkfall's Aegis as a regular urgent quest now. So yeah, I don't really know what's going on here. I am hoping that we get a new urgent quest, but I'm not holding my breath, because if we were getting a new urgent quest, they would probably have said that on the live stream. So yeah, it's just kind of weird seeing that we only have Darkfall's Aegis now. Now, the next piece of new content is the Sonic collaboration event, but the main thing that I'm excited, other than all the free items of course, is gonna be this Special Training Green Hill Sprint, a Sonic themed limited time quest. This is freaking awesome because you basically play as Sonic. You're gonna be racing across the map. There are all these little booster pads that make you run faster. There are coins that you need to pick up. There are Chaos Emeralds that you can pick up as well to make yourself stronger, and then you gotta zoom around the map, pick up all of this stuff, and kill a bunch of enemies. And there's a scoreboard as well to see who's the fastest, who's collected the most coins, who's got the highest score. And at the very end, you get to kill this Giga boss over here, which it kind of looks like a Frostal, but it also reminds me of a very specific boss in Sonic Frontiers. So it looks freaking awesome. I can't wait to play this. I think this is going to be a very fun mode. So I'm looking forward to this. Now for my min-maxers out there, we are getting a new dual quest. However, keep in mind, as it says right here, this is a phase 2 dual quest, which means that all of our current Devi capsules will be absolutely useless because we're going to need the new phase 2 capsules. So that does suck that we have to re-augment all of our armors and our weapons again, or make new armor and new weapons. But the boss looks pretty cool. I'm definitely going to give this a shot without using any of the Devi capsules in the beginning. Probably get totally ruffled, stomped, and destroyed. But then again, I'll probably just remake a weapon and just go with that. Because it's just one boss. I don't want to invest too much money into this. And we're just going to have to see where we can farm these phase 2 capsules. And last but not least is of course the Ghost in the Shell collaboration. There are a lot of very, very nice cosmetic items. The main thing that I want to bring to everyone's attention are going to be the weapon camos. There are a ton of really good weapon camos. So even if you don't like Ghost in the Shell, I would focus on the weapon camos because they look freaking sick. There's like 5 or 6 different weapon camos, by the way, so it's gonna look really, really nice. And if that doesn't interest you, don't worry, there's still at least the collaboration login bonus, which gives you a ton of star gems, and there's just a ton of freebies that you can get from this collaboration, so just make sure that you pick them up.
Special thanks to all the members for supporting the channel. It really means a lot to me. Thank you again.
But yeah, that's all I wanted to cover in today's video. Hopefully you guys found it helpful. If you did, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye!